Queen Isabella stood by the tall window in the palace. Her hands shook as she held a white envelope. The morning sun came through the glass, but she felt cold inside. The letter was from her husband, King Alexander. She had been married to him for 20 years. But today, everything changed. The palace halls were quiet, too quiet. Isabella could hear her own heartbeat. She opened the envelope again and read the words one more time. Your family is no longer welcome in the royal palace. This decision is final. King Alexander. Tears filled her eyes. How could he do this? Her mother, her two sisters, and her younger brother had lived in the east wing of the palace for 15 years. They were her only family. When she married Alexander, she was just a simple girl from a small town. Her family was not royal. They were normal people, farmers. Her father had died when she was young, so her mother raised 4 children alone. Alexander had promised her that her family would always have a home in the palace. He said those words on their wedding day. Isabella remembered it clearly. She wore a beautiful white dress, and he held her hands and said, "Your family is now my family. They will never want for anything." But now, everything was different. Alexander had changed. The royal advisors changed him. They whispered in his ear every day. The queen's family is too common, they said. They do not know royal ways. They embarrass the crown. People talk about them in the town. Isabella knew her family was different from other royals. Her mother, Lady Margaret, spoke with a country accent. She wore simple dresses, not fancy gowns. Her sister, Emma, laughed too loudly at dinner parties. Her other sister, Claire, preferred horses to royal events. Her brother, Thomas, was only 17 and liked to play music in the gardens instead of studying royal history. But they were good people. They had kind hearts. They helped the palace servants. They visited sick children in the town. They made the palace feel like a home, not just a cold building. Isabella walked to the throne room. Her feet felt heavy. Each step was difficult. The royal guard stood at the door. They looked at her with sad eyes. They knew what was happening. Everyone in the palace knew. Inside the throne room, King Alexander sat on his golden throne. He wore his crown and royal robes. His face was serious. Beside him stood 5 advisors. They were old men with gray hair and cold eyes. They had never liked Isabella's family. "Alexander, please," Isabella said. Her voice was soft. "Do not do this." The king did not look at her. He stared straight ahead. "The decision is made, Isabella. Your family will leave tomorrow morning. They will be given a small house in the countryside. They will have money for 1 year. After that, they must take care of themselves." "But why?" Isabella asked. Tears ran down her face. "What have they done wrong? They love this palace. They love you. My mother calls you your son." One of the advisors, Lord Vincent, stepped forward. He was a tall man with a thin face. "Your Majesty," he said to Isabella, using her title, but his voice was not respectful. "The royal family must maintain its dignity. Your relatives do not understand our ways. Last week, your brother played his guitar for the servants. Your sister Emma danced with the gardener at the spring festival. These things are not proper for a royal household." Isabella felt anger rise in her chest. Those things show love and joy. What is wrong with happiness? What is wrong with treating people with kindness? "Enough!" King Alexander's voice was loud. It echoed in the big room. "I have made my decision. I am the king. This conversation is over." Isabella fell to her knees. She did not care that the advisors were watching. She did not care about royal dignity. "Alexander, remember when we met. Remember the man you were. You loved my family. You said my mother reminded you of your own mother. You said Emma's laugh made you smile. You taught Thomas how to ride a horse. Please remember those days." For a moment, Alexander's face changed. His eyes became soft. He looked at his wife, really looked at her. Isabella saw the man she married, the man who once loved her completely. But then Lord Vincent coughed loudly. The other advisors moved closer to the king. The softness in Alexander's eyes disappeared. "Take her to her chambers," Alexander said to the guards. "Make sure she does not leave tonight. Tomorrow, her family will depart. If they refuse, they will be arrested." 2 guards came to Isabella. They helped her stand. They were gentle, but she had to go with them. As they led her away, Isabella looked back at her husband one last time. He would not meet her eyes. The guards took Isabella to her room. It was a beautiful room with silk curtains and a soft bed, but it felt like a prison. She sat on the floor and cried. Her whole body shook with tears. Outside her window, she could see the east wing where her family slept. They did not know yet. They did not know that tomorrow their world would end. Isabella had to find a way to stop this. She had to save her family. But how could she fight against the king? How could she change his mind when his advisors controlled him? She was just one woman, but she was also a queen, and queens were stronger than people thought. Tomorrow would come soon. Isabella wiped her tears. She stood up and looked at herself in the mirror. Her eyes were red, but there was fire in them now. She would not give up. Her family needed her, and she would find a way to bring them back home. The moon was high in the sky. Isabella sat by her window and waited. The guards outside her door changed every 4 hours. She had lived in this palace for 20 years. She knew every guard, every servant, every corner of this place. At midnight, young Thomas would be on duty outside her door. Thomas was not her brother. This Thomas was a guard who had worked at the palace for only 6 months. He was kind and young, only 20 years old. Isabella heard footsteps outside. The old guards left. New boots walked up to her door. It was time. She went to the door and knocked softly. "Thomas, is that you?" "Yes, your majesty," the young guard answered. His voice was nervous. "Thomas, I need your help," Isabella said to the door. "Please, my family will be thrown out tomorrow. I need to see them tonight, just for 1 hour. Please let me go to them." There was silence. Isabella held her breath. Would he help her, or would he follow the king's orders? "Your Majesty," Thomas finally spoke, "I could lose my job. I could be sent to prison." "I know," Isabella said. "I would never ask if I was not desperate. My mother is old. She has a weak heart. If she learns this news without me there, the shock could kill her. Please, Thomas, I just need to warn them gently. 1 hour. I will come back. I promise on my crown." More silence. Then Isabella heard the key turn in the lock. The door opened. Thomas stood there in his blue guard uniform. His young face looked scared but determined. 1 hour, your majesty. I will wait here. If anyone asks, you are sleeping and do not want to be disturbed. Thank you, Isabella whispered. You are saving my mother's life. She ran through the dark hallways. Her long nightgown flew behind her like white wings. The palace was quiet. Most servants were asleep. A few candles still burned in the corridors. Isabella knew a secret path to the east wing. When she was first married, Alexander showed her all the palace's hidden passages. They used to meet in secret and talk for hours. Those happy days felt like a dream now. Isabella reached the east wing and knocked on her mother's door. "Mother, it is me, Isabella." The door opened quickly. Lady Margaret stood there in her nightgown. Her gray hair was in a long braid. "Bella, what is wrong? Why are you here so late?" Isabella's tears came back. She could not hold them anymore. "Mother, something terrible has happened." She told her mother everything, about the king's decision, about the advisors, about tomorrow morning. Lady Margaret's face went pale. She sat down on her bed. Her hands shook. "We must leave the palace? But this is our home. I do not understand. What did we do wrong?" "You did nothing wrong, Mother," Isabella said. She sat next to her mother and held her hand. "The advisors poison Alexander's mind. They tell him you are not good enough for the palace. They want only pure royal blood here." "Then we will go," Lady Margaret said softly. "We will not cause you trouble, Bella. We love you too much." "No," Isabella said loudly. Then she lowered her voice. "No, Mother, you are not going anywhere. I will find a way to fix this." Emma and Claire came into the room. They had heard voices. What is happening? Emma asked. She was wearing a simple white sleeping dress. Her blonde hair was messy. Isabella told her sisters everything. Emma started crying immediately. Claire's face became angry. The king cannot do this. You are the queen. You have power too. I have a title, Isabella said. But Alexander has a real power. He has the army. He has the advisors. He has the people's love. What do I have? You have us, said a voice from the doorway. It was Thomas, Isabella's younger brother, not the guard. He stood there holding his guitar. You have our love. You have the servants' love. You have the people in the town's love. The advisors may control the king, but they do not control everyone. Isabella looked at her brother. He was right. She did have support. The palace servants loved her family. The people in town loved them too. When there was a flood last year, Isabella's family helped save children from the water. When there was hunger in winter, they gave food from the palace stores. The people remembered these things. I have an idea, Isabella said. Her mind was working fast now. But it is risky. If it fails, we could all be in serious trouble. Tell us, Lady Margaret said. We are family. We face everything together. Isabella stood up and walked to the window. She could see the town below. Small lights from houses glowed in the darkness. Tomorrow morning, when the guards come to take you away, do not fight them. Go peacefully, but ask to say goodbye to the palace servants first. All of them. It is your right to say goodbye. And then, Claire asked, the servants love you. When they hear you are leaving, they will be heartbroken. Let them see how sad you are. Let them see the injustice. News travels fast in this town. By afternoon, everyone will know the king throughout the queen's family. The kind people who help during floods and hunger. The people will ask questions. They will wonder what kind of king does this. Emma wiped her tears. You want to turn the people against the king? No, Isabella said. I want to show the king that he is making a mistake. When the people start talking, when they start questioning, the advisors will panic. They care about the king's reputation more than anything. They will see that throwing you out makes the king look cruel, not strong. But will it work? Lady Margaret asked. The king seemed so sure of his decision. I know my husband, Isabella said. Deep down, he is still a good man. The advisors have covered his heart with lies. But if the people he rules start to lose faith in him, he will wake up. He will see what he has become. Thomas put down his guitar. What if the plan fails? What if the king does not care what the people think? Isabella took a deep breath. Then I will do something I never thought I would do. I will leave the palace with you. If Alexander makes me choose between being a queen and being with my family, I choose family. Always. The room went silent. Everyone stared at Isabella. A queen leaving the king? It was unheard of. It would be a scandal. It would shock the entire kingdom. You cannot do that, Lady Margaret said. You love him. I do love him, Isabella said. But he has forgotten how to love me. Love is not just words. Mother, love is action. Love is protection. Love is choosing your wife over advisors who fill your head with poison. Claire hugged Isabella. Then Emma joined. Then Thomas. Finally, Lady Margaret stood and wrapped her arms around all her children. They stood together in a circle, holding each other tight. Tomorrow will be hard, Isabella said, but we are strong. We are family, and we will fight for what is right. Outside, the night guard Thomas waited patiently. Inside the east wing, a family prepared for battle, not with swords or armies, but with truth, love, and courage. The game had just begun. Morning came too quickly. Isabella had not slept at all. She returned to her room before sunrise and pretended to sleep when the guards checked on her. Now the sun was rising over the palace walls. She could hear sounds outside. Carriages, horses, guards marching. They were coming for her family. Isabella dressed in her simplest black dress. No jewelry, no crown. She wanted to look sad, not royal. She opened her door. The guards outside looked surprised to see her awake so early. I am going to the east wing, she told them. You will not stop me. The guards looked at each other. They were not sure what to do. Finally, they nodded. "Yes, Your Majesty." Isabella walked quickly. Her heart beat fast. When she reached the east wing, she saw many royal guards standing outside. They wore red uniforms and carried swords. Captain Marcus, the head of the royal guard, stood at the front. He was a big man with a thick beard. He had served the palace for 30 years. "Your Majesty," Captain Marcus said. He bowed his head. "I am sorry. I have orders from the king. The family must leave within the hour." "I know," Isabella said. Her voice was calm, but her eyes were full of tears. "But they have the right to say goodbye to the palace staff. That is our law. Even prisoners get to say goodbye to their families. Are my mother and siblings less than prisoners?" Captain Marcus looked uncomfortable. He knew she was right. "Yes, Your Majesty. They may say goodbye. I will gather the staff in the great hall." Inside the east wing, Isabella found her family. They were dressed and ready. Their bags were packed. Lady Margaret wore her best dress, a simple blue one. Emma and Claire held hands. Thomas carried his guitar on his back. They all had tears in their eyes, but they stood tall. "Are you ready?" Isabella asked them. "We are ready," Lady Margaret said. She hugged her daughter. "Be brave, my sweet Bella. Everything will work out the way it is meant to." The guards led them through the palace. Servants stopped their work to watch. They whispered to each other. "The Queen's family is leaving?" "Why? What happened?" News was already spreading like fire. They arrived at the great hall. It was a huge room with high ceilings and beautiful paintings on the walls. Usually, it was used for parties and celebrations. Today, it would be used for goodbyes. Captain Marcus had gathered all the palace servants. There were more than 200 people. Cooks, cleaners, gardeners, stable workers, maids, butlers. They all stood together, looking confused and worried. Captain Marcus spoke in a loud voice. "The king has made a decision. Lady Margaret and her children must leave the palace today. They are here to say goodbye." A shocked silence filled the hall. Then whispers started. Then voices got louder. The servants could not believe it. Many of them started crying. An old cook named Martha pushed through the crowd. She had worked in the palace for 40 years. She walked straight to Lady Margaret and hugged her tight. "No, you cannot leave. You are family to us." "I must," Lady Margaret said gently. Tears ran down her old face. "The king has decided. We must respect his wishes." "But why?" asked a young maid named Sophie. She was only 15. Emma had taught her how to read and write. "What did you do wrong?" "We were not royal enough," Claire said. Her voice was bitter. "We were too common, too simple. We embarrassed the crown." The servants gasped. They knew this was not true. They knew Isabella's family was kind and good. Thomas took out his guitar. His hand shook, but he started to play a soft, sad song. It was a song about home and family. He sang in a quiet voice. "We came as strangers. Now we leave as friends. Every beginning has its painful ends. But love remains when everything else goes. The heart remembers what the heart knows." Many servants cried openly now. Even some of the guards had tears in their eyes. Emma hugged the children of the servants. She had played with them in the gardens. Claire thanked the stable workers who taught her about horses. Lady Margaret held the hands of the elderly servants who had become her friends. Isabella stood to the side and watched. She saw the love. She saw the pain. She saw how many people cared about her family. This was exactly what she needed. The truth was showing itself. Her family was not an embarrassment. They were loved. Suddenly, the great hall doors opened. Lord Vincent walked in with 2 other advisors. They looked angry. "Enough of this." Lord Vincent shouted, "This is not a social gathering. The family must leave immediately." But the servants did not move. They surrounded Isabella's family like a protective wall. Martha the cook spoke up. "They have the right to say goodbye. Even the king's law says so." "The king's law also says to obey the king's advisors." Lord Vincent snapped. "Guards, remove the family now." The guards moved forward, but they moved slowly. They did not want to do this. Captain Marcus looked at Isabella. She could see the question in his eyes. Do you want me to stop this? Isabella wanted to say yes. She wanted to order the guards to protect her family, but she knew that would be rebellion. That would give the king a reason to punish everyone. She shook her head slightly. Let them go, she whispered. This is not over. Lady Margaret, Emma, Claire, and Thomas walked toward the door. The servants made a path for them. Many servants followed them outside. They wanted to see them off. They wanted to show their support. Outside the palace, 3 simple carriages waited, not the royal golden carriages, just plain brown ones. This was an insult. Isabella felt anger burn in her chest. Her family deserved better than this. Mother, Isabella said, holding Lady Margaret's hands, I will fix this. I promise you, this is not goodbye forever. I know, my darling girl, Lady Margaret said. She touched Isabella's face gently. You are stronger than you know, stronger than any crown. Make him remember who he was. Make him remember love. Emma and Claire hugged Isabella together. We will be waiting, Emma said, in the countryside. We will wait for you to bring us home. Thomas hugged his sister last. Play the game smart, Bella. The advisors think they won, but they do not know how stubborn you are. Isabella almost smiled through her tears. Stubborn like our father, she said. The family got into the carriages. The servants stood in rows, crying and waving. Some threw flowers. It looked like a funeral, not a departure. Isabella stood tall and watched the carriages roll away through the palace gates. Her family was gone. The east wing would be empty now, silent. Lord Vincent walked up beside her. This is for the best, Your Majesty. You will see. The palace will be more dignified now. Isabella turned to look at him. Her eyes were cold. You think you have won, Lord Vincent, but you made a terrible mistake today. You showed the people the truth. You showed them that the king listens to cruel advisers instead of his own heart. The people are watching now, and they will remember this day. Lord Vincent's smile faded. He looked worried for just a second. Then he walked away quickly. Isabella stood alone in the courtyard. Around her, servants whispered and cried. The news would spread to the town by noon. By evening, the whole kingdom would know. A queen's family, thrown out like garbage. Good people, punished for being common. Isabella walked back into the palace. She went straight to the throne room. The king was there, sitting alone. He looked tired. They are gone, Isabella said. Her voice echoed in the empty room. Alexander did not answer. He just stared at his hands. I hope you are happy, Isabella continued. I hope your advisors are happy, because you have broken something today that will be very hard to fix. She turned and walked away. She did not bow. She did not ask permission to leave. She was done being the obedient queen. The real fight was just beginning. 3 days passed. Isabella stayed in her chambers most of the time. She did not eat much. She did not speak to the king. The palace felt cold and empty without her family. But outside the palace walls, something was happening. Something the king and his advisors did not expect. The news spread quickly through the kingdom. The servants told their families in town. The families told their neighbors. The neighbors told the shopkeepers. By the second day, everyone knew. The queen's family had been thrown out. The kind people who helped during the flood, the people who gave food during the winter, gone. Sent away because they were not royal enough. The people were angry, very angry. In the town market, people gathered and talked. The king has forgotten where he came from, said an old farmer. His own grandfather was a simple soldier. Now, he thinks common people are not good enough. Lady Margaret saved my daughter during the flood, said a woman selling bread. She jumped into the cold water herself. A lady of her age. She is a hero, and this is how the king treats heroes. At the town church, the priest spoke about kindness and fairness during his sermon. When we forget to honor good people, we lose our way, he said. A crown does not make a man good. Actions make a man good. The whispers reached the palace. Servants told Isabella what was happening in town. She listened carefully. Her plan was working. The people were questioning the king's decision, but she needed more. She needed the king to feel the pressure. On the fourth day, something unexpected happened. A large crowd gathered outside the palace gates. Hundreds of people. They were not angry or violent. They just stood there, holding flowers and candles. They were silent. It was more powerful than shouting. Captain Marcus came to Isabella's room. "Your Majesty, you should see this." Isabella went to a window. She looked down at the crowd. Her heart filled with emotion. These people came for her family. They came to show support. In the throne room, King Alexander paced back and forth. He looked worried. Lord Vincent and the other advisors stood nearby. They also looked worried. "This is getting out of control," said Lord Vincent. "The people are gathering every day now. They bring flowers. They sing songs about Lady Margaret and her children. This makes the king look bad. We should send soldiers to break up the crowd," said another advisor, Lord Edmund. He was a thin man with a mean face. "No," Alexander said loudly. "I will not attack my own people for holding flowers. What kind of king does that? A strong king." Lord Edmund argued. "You cannot let them disrespect you like this." Alexander sat down on his throne. He put his head in his hands. "They are not disrespecting me. They are showing me I made a mistake." The advisors went silent. This was the first time the king admitted doubt. Lord Vincent spoke carefully. "Your Majesty, you did what was necessary. The royal family must maintain its dignity. Do not let emotions cloud your judgment." "Emotions?" Alexander looked up. His eyes were tired. "My wife has not spoken to me in 4 days. My servants look at me with sad eyes. My people stand outside with candles. Tell me, Lord Vincent, where is the dignity in all of this?" Before Lord Vincent could answer, a messenger ran into the throne room. He was breathing hard. "Your Majesty, the Duke of Westford has arrived. He demands to speak with you immediately." The Duke of Westford was Alexander's oldest friend. They grew up together. He was a powerful man who ruled the western part of the kingdom. If the Duke was here, it was important. The Duke entered the throne room. He was a big man with red hair and a loud voice. He did not bow. He walked straight to Alexander. "What have you done, Alexander?" he said. "What madness is this?" "Richard," Alexander said. "The Duke's name was Richard. This is not your concern." "Not my concern?" Duke Richard laughed, but it was not a happy laugh. "The entire kingdom is talking about this. They say you threw out your wife's family because they were not fancy enough. They say your advisors control you like a puppet. I did not believe it. I came to see for myself. And now I see these men standing around you like vultures. I see your wife lock away. I see your people mourning outside. Tell me, old friend, is this the king you want to become?" The advisors tried to speak, but the Duke raised his hand. "Be quiet. I am not talking to you. I am talking to my friend, the boy I grew up with, the man who once said he would rule with fairness and love." Alexander stood up. "You do not understand, Richard. The advisor said. The advisor said. The advisor said." Duke Richard shouted. "When did you stop thinking for yourself? When did you become afraid to trust your own heart?" "I am not afraid." Alexander shouted back. "Then prove it." Duke Richard said, "Go to the window. Look at your people. Look at what your decision has done." Alexander walked to the large window. He looked down at the crowd. They were still there, holding candles. Some were crying. Some were praying. They looked so sad. These were his people. Good people. And he had hurt them. "They loved Lady Margaret," Duke Richard said quietly, standing beside him. "They loved her children. Everyone in the kingdom knew them as kind souls. And you sent them away. For what? To please men who care more about rules than hearts." Alexander's hands gripped the window edge. "I thought I was doing the right thing." "The right thing for who?" Duke Richard asked. "Not for your wife. Not for your people. Not even for yourself. Look at you. You are miserable." In that moment, Isabella entered the throne room. She had heard the Duke's voice from the hallway. She walked slowly with dignity. Her black dress made her look like she was in mourning. In a way, she was mourning the man she married. Isabella, Alexander said. His voice was soft. Your Majesty, Isabella said. She did not call him by his name. She used his title. It felt distant and cold. Duke Richard looked between them. He saw the pain in both their faces. You two need to talk. Alone, without these advisors who have poisoned everything. We have nothing to talk about, Isabella said. But her voice cracked. She didn't want to talk. She wanted her husband back, but she was too hurt. Please, Alexander said. It was just one word, but it carried so much feeling. Please, Isabella, talk to me. The advisors tried to interrupt. Your Majesty, this is not appropriate. Get out. Alexander roared. His voice shook the room. All of you, leave us. Now. They loved Lady Margaret, Duke Richard said quietly, standing beside him. They loved her children. Everyone in the kingdom knew them as kind souls. And you sent them away. For what? To please men who care more about rules and hearts. Alexander's hands gripped the window edge. I thought I was doing the right thing. The right thing for who? Duke Richard asked. Not for your wife. Not for your people. Not even for yourself. Look at you. You are miserable. In that moment, Isabella entered the throne room. She had heard the Duke's voice from the hallway. She walked slowly with dignity. Her black dress made her look like she was in mourning. In a way, she was mourning the man she married. Isabella, Alexander said. His voice was soft. Your Majesty, Isabella said. She did not call him by his name. She used his title. It felt distant and cold. Duke Richard looked between them. He saw the pain in both their faces. You two need to talk. Alone, without these advisors who have poisoned everything. We have nothing to talk about, Isabella said. But her voice cracked. She didn't want to talk. She wanted her husband back, but she was too hurt. Please, Alexander said. It was just one word, but it carried so much feeling. Please, Isabella, talk to me. The advisors tried to interrupt. Your Majesty, this is not appropriate. Get out. Alexander roared. His voice shook the room. All of you, leave us. Now. The advisors looked shocked. They had never heard the king yell at them before. Slowly, they walked out of the throne room. Duke Richard followed them, but he smiled at Isabella first. He was glad. Maybe the real Alexander was still in there. The throne room doors closed. Isabella and Alexander were alone. They stood far apart, like strangers. The silence was heavy. I miss you, Alexander said finally. I miss your smile. I miss your voice. I miss having you beside me. You sent away my family, Isabella said. Tears came to her eyes. My mother, my sisters, my baby brother. You broke my heart, Alexander. I know, he said. He walked toward her. I was wrong. I was so wrong. The advisors, they made me believe that being a strong king meant being hard. Cold. They said your family made me look weak. But I see now, sending them away made me the weakest I have ever been. Isabella wanted to believe him, but words were easy. What changed your mind? The people outside? The Duke's words? Are you only sorry because it looks bad? No, Alexander said. He was close to her now. I am sorry because I forgot who I am. I forgot that you chose me. A girl from a small town chose to love a prince. And I promised to always honor that love. I broke my promise. A tear rolled down Isabella's cheek. Do you know what hurt the most? Not that you sent them away, but that you did not fight for them. You did not fight for me. You chose advisors over your wife. Alexander fell to his knees in front of her, a king kneeling. Forgive me, he whispered. Please, Isabella, forgive me. I will bring them back. Today, right now, I will send my fastest riders. I will beg them to return, and I will tell the advisors to leave. All of them. I do not need them. I need you. Isabella looked down at him. The king was crying. Her strong, proud husband was on his knees. Cry like a child, Isabella's heart was breaking and healing at the same time. She saw the man she married. He was back. The advisors had hidden him, but he was still there. She knelt down beside him and took his face in her hands. "Alexander," she said softly, "look at me." He looked up. His eyes were red and full of tears. "I am so sorry, Isabella. I lost myself. I forgot what matters. Please give me another chance. Just one more chance." Isabella wiped his tears with her thumb. "One chance," she said. "But things must change. Really change. Not just words. Actions. Anything," Alexander said. "Tell me what to do." "First, bring my family home," Isabella said. "Send your fastest horses. Bring them back with honor. In the royal golden carriages. Not the plain ones." "Yes," Alexander said. "I will send riders immediately." "Second," Isabella continued, "the advisors must go. All of them. They do not serve you, Alexander. They serve themselves. They want power, not what is good for the kingdom." Alexander nodded. "Lord Vincent and his men will leave today. I will find new advisors. Good men, fair men, men who care about people, not just rules." "Third," Isabella said, her voice firm now, "you must speak to the people. Go outside. Face them. Tell them you were wrong. A true king admits his mistakes." Alexander took a deep breath. This would be hard. Kings did not usually admit they were wrong. But he knew Isabella was right. "I will do it. I will tell them everything." Isabella helped him stand up. They held hands like they used to when they were young and in love. "We do this together," she said. "Always together from now on." They walked to the great balcony that overlooked the palace courtyard. The crowd was still there. When the people saw the king and queen appear together, holding hands, they went silent. Everyone waited to see what would happen. Alexander's voice shook at first, but then it grew stronger. "My people," he said loudly so everyone could hear, "I stand before you today to say something a king rarely says. I was wrong." The crowd whispered to each other. The king was admitting a mistake? "I made a terrible decision," Alexander continued. "I sent away Lady Margaret and her children. Good people, kind people, people who helped you during hard times. I listened to bad advice. I forgot that being a king is not about looking powerful. It is about doing what is right." Some people in the crowd started to cry. They had waited to hear these words. "I am sending my fastest riders to bring them back home," Alexander said. "They will return in royal golden carriages with all the honor they deserve. And the advisors who told me to send them away will leave this palace today. I do not need advisors who teach me to be cruel. I need advisors who teach me to be just." The crowd erupted in cheers. People clapped and shouted with joy. Some threw their flowers in the air. The king had listened. The king had changed his mind. Isabella squeezed Alexander's hand. She was proud of him. This was the man she married. This was the king the people needed. Alexander turned to Captain Marcus, who stood nearby. "Send 10 of your best riders. Bring Lady Margaret and her children home. Take the finest carriages. And tell them," his voice cracked with emotion, "tell them their king is very sorry. Tell them we are waiting for them." Captain Marcus bowed deeply. "Yes, your majesty." They will be home before sunset. Inside the palace, Lord Vincent and the other advisors packed their things. They were angry and bitter. "This is that woman's fault," Lord Vincent muttered. "She has made the king soft." But no one listened to them anymore. The guards escorted them out through a back door. The servants watched them go with satisfaction. The palace felt lighter already, like a dark cloud had lifted. Isabella spent the afternoon preparing for her family's return. She ordered the servants to clean the east wing. She filled their rooms with fresh flowers. She told the cooks to prepare a feast. This would be a celebration. As the sun started to set, someone shouted from the palace towers, "They are coming. The carriages are coming." Isabella ran to the courtyard. Her heart raced. Alexander stood beside her. The crowd of people moved aside to make room. Everyone wanted to see the family return. 3 golden carriages rolled through the palace gates. They were beautiful, pulled by white horses with flowers in their manes. The carriages stopped in the courtyard. The doors opened. Lady Margaret stepped out first. She looked confused. She had left in a plain brown carriage just 4 days ago. Now she returned like royalty. She saw Isabella running toward her and opened her arms. "Mother!" Isabella cried. She hugged her mother so tight. Both of them cried happy tears. Emma and Claire came out next, then Thomas with his guitar. They all rushed Isabella. It was a tangle of hugs and tears and laughter. The crowd cheered loudly. Even the palace servants came outside to watch. Everyone was crying and smiling at the same time. Alexander walked forward slowly. He was nervous. Would Lady Margaret forgive him? He stopped in front of her and bowed his head. "Lady Margaret, I am deeply sorry for what I did. I hurt you and your children. I hurt my wife. I was a fool. Please forgive me." Lady Margaret looked at the king. He was bowing to her. A king bowing to a common woman. She put her hand on his shoulder. "Stand up, Alexander. You are my son. I have loved you like a son for 20 years. Sons make mistakes. Mothers forgive. Always." Alexander looked up with tears in his eyes. Lady Margaret opened her arms and hugged him. The crowd cheered even louder. This was what a kingdom should be. Love, forgiveness, family. That night, the palace held a great feast. The tables were full of food. Music played. Servants danced with nobles. Common people from town were invited inside. The walls between royal and common did not matter anymore. Thomas played his guitar and sang happy songs. Emma danced with the gardener again, and this time no one said it was improper. Claire talked about horses with the stable workers. Lady Margaret sat at the head table between Alexander and Isabella, exactly where she belonged. Alexander stood and raised his glass. "A toast," he said, "to family, to love, to the people who make us better, and to my wife, Queen Isabella, who taught me that a crown means nothing if your heart is empty." Everyone raised their glasses. To Queen Isabella. Isabella looked around the great hall. Her mother was laughing. Her sisters were dancing. Her brother was playing music. Her husband was smiling. The servants were happy. The people were celebrating. This was what a palace should feel like. Not cold and formal. Warm and alive. Later that night, Isabella and Alexander stood on their balcony under the stars. The celebration continued below, but they needed a quiet moment together. "Thank you," Alexander said, "for not giving up on me, for fighting for our family, for making me remember who I am." Isabella leaned her head on his shoulder. "We all lose our way sometimes. What matters is finding the way back home." "I am home now," Alexander said, kissing her forehead. "Right here with you." Below them, the palace glowed with light and laughter. The dark days were over. The kingdom had learned an important lesson. Power without love is empty. Rules without heart are meaningless. And a king is only as good as the people he chooses to honor. The queen's family was home, and they would never leave again. The end.